Egos and delusion are still ruling the Big Brother house as it comes to a close. 1 week to go, and Derek Frazier and Kylan are clashing over their ego. I've talked a lot about Kylan's ego this season. It's been pretty big. It's what has gotten him in trouble. And now Derek Frazier thinks Kylan's ego is crazy because Derek Frazier thinks he's done more than Kylan in this game. Derek Frazier thinks he masterminded this whole season. He truly thinks he has ran the game. His delusion is truly unmatched. And if Xavier could bring this man to the end, Xavier wins. Probably a shutout. I would be surprised if Derek gets a fucking vote. We've talked about male egos this season, and it is crazy how inflated the male ego can get in these games. And DF is showing that this man thinks he doesn't think he's a goat that you can drag to the end and beat. He thinks he is the other goat. He thinks he is the greatest of all time with this delusion that he has in his head. It's so bad that if he's against Ozza or Xavier or somehow Kylan, if anything changes, then they should beat him easily. He's going to piss off the jury. He's not going to make any sense. He's going to say he ran this game, at least not to the cookout. He's not going to have 4 votes. So the other person next to him is just going to need 1 more vote to beat Derek Frazier in a final 2. Somebody asked me on the comments yesterday, I think it was Kevin, that can Ozza win this game? And obviously she can, but she has to win the final 3, cut Xavier, then I think she beats Derek Frazier. Xavier obviously should win against either of them at the end. If he decided to go against Ozza in the end, if he won final 3 and went against Ozza, then he would probably win. But Derek Frazier, I feel like even if somehow Big D won the final 3 HOH, cut Ozza, went to the end with Xavier, obviously Xavier's going to win. If somehow Derek Frazier, who hasn't won a competition yet, wins 2 competitions to win that final HOH, somehow thinks the best move for him is to cut Xavier, and his ego doesn't get in the way, and it's Derek Frazier with Ozza, I'm not convinced he beats Ozza in that final 2 if he's the one that cuts Xavier because of his final 2 speeds. But maybe, who knows? Maybe somehow it will actually be a great speech. Doubting it. But as it stands, I feel like Derek Frazier seems firmly behind cutting Kylan now. He's been touch and go this week. Him and Xavier have had to have a lot of talks because Derek Frazier was worried about getting blood on his hands, basically, and cutting Kylan and all that. But he seems to be finally going through with it because he thinks Kylan's ego is too big, and because Kylan thinks he's done well, because Kylan's called Derek Frazier's ego big, and he ain't wrong either. They're both not wrong. Both of their egos have been out of control, and they both need a rude fucking awakening. After this week, it comes down to that final 3 HOH. Either Xavier gets that win and wins the whole game, or maybe Ozza could win it and cut Xavier. She would cut Xavier as it stands. So it would be Ozza versus Derek Frazier. The 2 Jokers in the finale would be great to me because I have talked up the Jokers a lot this season. But Derek Frazier winning, the odds just aren't there. I mean, it's possible, but like, what are the odds? He doesn't win a comp all season and then wins 2 comps to win the final HOH. Crazier things have happened, I guess, but I don't see it. I don't foresee it this time. But maybe he'll surprise me. Nobody really has so far this season. Nobody has surprised me. I think everyone showed who they were in the first 2 weeks. So since then, nobody has really come out and surprised me with something. Next, let's talk about, I've had comments the last couple of videos, like really for like the past week, and I see it a lot on social media about who deserves to win the game. Who deserves it? God, I hate that word so much in these games, deserve. Like, I know as fans have their favorites. I have my favorites, but that shouldn't determine who wins the game. And the good players always get cut in these games. So That this is nothing new. I would say in Survivor, the good players, some of the best players in some seasons get cut right before the end, a lot. So the word deserve, that goes back to the early days of Big Brother, the early days of Survivor, where they would just vote for the best human. Well, those days are long gone. People either vote for the player that played the best game that is in the final two, or they vote for the player that they are least bitter towards. That's how juries have been determined for over a decade now in both Big Brother and Survivor. There was also a comment yesterday talking about how Xavier's like afraid to take Kylan to the end, and I've seen a lot of that rhetoric too. That Xavier is lame and he's scared of like battling it out with Kylan, and I just keep having to tell people. First of all, this is just not a sport, it's a game. You try and make the best moves that's best for your game to get yourself to the end. And who is the best person to get to the end with? And Xavier thinks he doesn't want to deal with Kylan in a final three HOH. He wants to win the final three HOH and take who he wants to take to the end. That's a smart game move. So, yeah, and like I said in the comments yesterday, even in sports, the best two teams don't always make the end. There are upsets in playoffs all the time. So that's just the way it goes sometimes. Any given Sunday, any given Big Brother season. And lastly, the rhetoric that Xavier has not helped the cookout enough or that he hasn't done anything, this needs to just fucking die. It doesn't help when the biggest Big Brother podcast is still pushing their anti-black male player narrative that they've been pushing for 2 seasons straight. They pushed the same thing with Tashawn. Now they're pushing it again with Xavier, trying to downplay their games. Tashawn's was really idiotic, but this one is still pretty dumb too, because Xavier's played an excellent social game. You do not have everybody in the house not wanting to cut you if you're not doing something right. He positioned himself the best in the house, and he's done that since week fucking 3. So just stop trying to pretend just to make yourselves feel better that Xavier hasn't played or that he didn't do enough to win the game. He clearly has. Like, everybody just keeps coming up with whatever excuse they can. There was a point early in the season, like the first half of the season, people were saying Xavier was one of the main parts of the cookout success, but then the narrative shifted and suddenly somehow he wasn't anymore. Hannah took his place, which is ridiculous. Like, Hannah was the most loyal to the cookout, but she did not even come close to doing the most for the cookout. So stop. Xavier was the glue of the cookout, and he just got along with everybody in the cookout. Everybody in the cookout wanted to work with him. So I'm sorry if your faves got eliminated, didn't make the end because they didn't play right socially. Xavier did play right socially because the cookout got to the end. If the cookout was going to get to the end, you should have maneuvered yourself to be the best position in the cookout. Nobody did that except for Xavier. So Xavier truly has played the best game within the cookout because Tiffany got sloppy, Hannah got sloppy and got too connected to Tiffany. Their targets grew. Kylan's ego got in the fucking way. He wanted to take Xavier to the end, didn't want to eliminate Xavier to give himself the best shot at the end. Instead, Xavier did that. So Xavier outplayed Kylan, period. So Xavier has outplayed everybody's faves, and that's just really all there is to it. He's going to win this game unless Ozzo wins final 3 HOH.